Hello, my name is Jiso and I'm reading Master Dōgen Shōbōgenzō, and we've reached chapter 83, Shukke, Leaving Family Life. It was the custom in ancient India for people who wanted to pursue the truth to leave their family, and this custom was retained in Buddhist orders. It is said that Gautama Buddha, first left his family life and began the life of a monk when he was 29 years old. For this reason, Buddhist orders revere the tradition of transcending family life in pursuit of the truth, and Master Dōgen explains the custom in this chapter. Zen and Shingi says, Zen and Shingi is pure criteria for Zen monasteries, a 10-fascicle text compiled by Master Choro Susaku in 1103. So Zen and Shingi says, and this is a long quote, goes right over the page, and then there are more quotes. The Buddhas of the three times all say that to leave family life is to realize the truth. The 28 patriarchs in India and 6 patriarchs in Tang, China, who transmitted the Buddha mind seal were all Shramanas, where Shramana is a Buddhist monk. Perhaps it was by strictly observing the Vinaya that they were able to become universal models for the triple world. Therefore, in practicing Zazen and inquiring into the truth, the precepts are foremost. Without having departed from excess and guarded against wrong, how is it possible to realize the state of Buddha and to become a patriarch? The method of receiving the precepts is as follows. The 3 robes and patra must be provided together with new and clean clothes. If you have no new clothes, wash old clothes clean. Never borrow robes and patra to go onto the platform and receive the precepts. Concentrate wholeheartedly and be careful not to go against circumstances. To assume the form of the Buddha, to come into possession of the Buddha's precepts, to get what the Buddha received and said, these are not small matters. How could they be treated lightly? If we were to borrow robes and patra, even if we mounted the platform and received the precepts, we would not get the precepts at all. Unless we received the precepts again, we would be people without precepts throughout our life, fraternizing without reason in the lineage of emptiness and accepting devout offerings in vain. Beginners in the truth have not yet memorized the Dharma precepts. It is masters, by not saying anything, who cause people to fall into this wrongness. Now I have spoken a stern exhortation. I dare to hope that you will engrave it on your hearts. If you have already received the Shravaka precepts, you should receive the Bodhisattva precepts. This is the first sign of having entered the Dharma. Back to Dōgen. Clearly now, the Buddhas and the patriarchs' realization of the truth is nothing other than their leaving family life and receiving the precepts. The lifeblood of the Buddhas and the patriarchs is nothing other than their leaving family life and receiving the precepts. Someone who has not yet left family life is never a Buddhist patriarch. To see the Buddhas and to see the patriarchs is to leave family life and to receive the precepts. Another quote, Mahakasyapa, following the world-honoured one, seeks to leave family life and desires to deliver all things. The Buddha says, welcome, Bhiksu. Mahakasyapa's hair and beard fall off by themselves and a kaseya covers his body. Back to Dōgen. When a person follows the Buddha and becomes free of all things, the excellent example of leaving family life and receiving the precepts is, in every case, like this one. The great Prajna Sutra, fascicle 3, Prajna Sutra Kaitoku Dento Roku, says, the world-honoured Buddha said, if a Bodhisattva Mahasattva thinks, at some time I will relinquish a throne and leave family life, on which day I will realize the supreme right and balanced state of Bodhi, also on that day I will turn the wonderful wheel of Dharma, causing countless innumerable sentient beings to depart from dust and leave dirt, and cause them to have the pure Dharma eye. At the same time, I will cause countless, innumerable sentient beings to end forever all excesses and to liberate their mind and intuition. Further, I will cause countless, innumerable sentient beings all to attain the state of not regressing or straying from the supreme right and balanced state of Bodhi. Then this Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, who wants to realize those things, should learn the Prajna Paramita. Back to Dōgen. In sum, the supreme state of Bodhi is perfectly satisfied at the time of leaving family life and receiving the precepts. It never becomes perfect on a day other than the day of leaving family life. That being so, by bringing in the day of leaving family life, we actualize a day of realizing the supreme state of Bodhi. And that which brings forth the day of realizing the supreme state of Bodhi is a day of leaving family life. This leaving family life, which is to somersault, is the turning of the splendid Dharma wheel. This leaving family life itself causes innumerable sentient beings not to regress or to stray from the supreme state of Bodhi. Remember, the situation in which self-benefit and benefiting others become perfectly satisfied at this concrete place, and there is neither the regression nor straying from Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, is the leaving of family life and receiving of the precepts. Realizing the supreme state of Bodhi, conversely, makes the day of leaving family life realize Bodhi. Remember, in truth, that the day of leaving family life is beyond unity and difference. On the day we leave family life, we practice and experience 3 Asamkhya Kalpas. On the day we leave family life, we abide in the ocean of infinite Kalpas and turn the splendid wheel of Dharma. The day of leaving family life is beyond the time of mealtime, is beyond 60 minor Kalpas, has transcended the 3 times, and has gotten free of the brain. The day of leaving family life has transcended already the day of leaving family life. And though this may be so, when nets and cages are broken open, the day of leaving family life is just the day of leaving family life, and the day of realizing the truth is just the day of realizing the truth. The Great Commentary, that's the discussion of the accomplishment which is great wisdom. That is the Chinese translation by Kumara Jiva of the Mahaprajna Paramitopadesa, a commentary on the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra attributed to Master Nagarjuna. The Great Commentary. Number 13 says, the Buddha is at Jetavana Park. A drunken Brahmin comes to the Buddha's place wanting to become a bhiksu. The Buddha instructs the other bhiksus to give the Brahmin a shaved head and to put a kaseya on him. When he sobers up, the Brahmin is astonished and bewildered to see that his form has suddenly changed to that of a bhiksu, and he runs away at once. The other bhiksus ask the Buddha, why did you permit the drunken Brahmin to become a bhiksu, only now to go back home? The Buddha says, this Brahmin for countless eons was without the will to leave family life. Now, as a result of getting drunk, he has momentarily established a bit of the will. Because of this circumstance, he will leave family life in the future. There are many kinds of stories like this one. Breaking of the precepts, having left family life, is better than keeping the precepts as a lay person, because with the precepts of a lay person, we do not realize liberation. The point of the Buddha's instruction is clear. Back to Dōgen now. In the Buddha's teaching, just to leave family life is fundamental, and that which has not left family life is not the Buddha Dharma. While the Tathagata was in the world, when various non-Buddhists devoted themselves to the Buddha Dharma, having discarded their own false ways, they always requested at the outset to leave family life. Either the world-honoured one himself graciously offered the words, welcome bhiksu, or he instructed the other bhiksus to shave the newcomer's hair and beard and cause the newcomer to leave family life and receive the precepts. In each case, the means for leaving family life and receiving the precepts were provided at once. Remember, when the Buddha's teaching has already covered body and mind, hair naturally falls from the head and a kaseya clothes the body. Without the consent of the Buddhas, hair and beard are not shaved off, the kaseya does not clothe the body, and the Buddhist precepts are impossible to receive. In sum, to leave family life and receive the precepts is to experience the personal affirmation of the Buddha Tathagatas. Shakyamuni Buddha says, "Good sons, seeing living beings who take pleasure in small things, whose virtue is scant and whose filthiness is accumulated, the Tathagata to these people states, 'In my youth I left family life and attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. And since I eventually realized the state of Buddha, my eternity has been such as it is. Only to teach and transform living beings by expedient means so that they will enter the Buddhist truth do I make statements like this.'" Dōgen again. Thus, realization of the eternal is, "In my youth I left family life." Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi is, "In my youth I left family life." When the Buddha describes that, "In my youth I left family life," living beings who, with scant virtue and accumulated filthiness, take pleasure in small things, also realize, "In my youth I will leave family life." At any place where we see, hear, and learn in practice the Dharma preaching that "In my youth I left family life," we meet the Buddha's state of Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. When the Buddha delivers living beings who are taking pleasure in small things to these people he states, "In my youth I left family life and attained Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi." Though I have described it like this, someone might ask, in conclusion, how important is the virtue of leaving family life? I would say to that person, as important as your head. Shōbōgenzō Shukke, preached to the assembly at Eiheiji Temple in Fukkei Prefecture on the 15th day on the 9th lunar month in the 4th year of Kangen 1246. Thanks for listening. Take care.